And as you hit the button, I'm getting a little skip.
Oh, well,
I
that's
guess you could call
always,
it skip.
yeah, that's lovely. It's the interwebs, but it's not bad considering how much rain we're getting. I figured we'd all have a piss poor connection tonight, but so far pretty good. All right, let's start
Well,
checking, making sure we're
anyway,
online.
so I am not.
Are you lagging a
I
little
didn't.
bit?
Usually, I get my little X thing, and I didn't get no.
No, we're not on X, YouTube,
Yeah,
and
I
Facebook.
am lagging bad.
Yeah, there's a little delay, so folks, you'll have to forgive us. We
Yeah,
got
that's
a couple of people watching. We're having a little delays. I guess the rain and cold weather have slowed the internet down in the big towns surrounding Benton. All right. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube, so that's a good thing. We did have kind of short notice for this, so we may not have a whole bunch of people watching, but I'll go ahead and get a little bit of the housekeeping out of the way. First of all, want to welcome everybody that's watching or that may see this in the future to the Outdoor News. We are doing the Flyway Series, which has been, I don't know how many shows we've done, maybe a dozen or more on ducks and duck hunting and flooded corn and all that. Got Mr. Josh Goins and Mr. Duke Lowrie, who hopefully will be back in a minute. They are pretty much the co hosts of this. If you comment, we don't really moderate anything. The only time is if you're really vulgar. A little cussing's okay. We're all adults. But if you're really vulgar, we'll moderate or boot you for that. Or if you're an obvious troll, we'll moderate or boot you for that. But otherwise, we encourage all comments, even if you don't agree with something we say. That's okay. Let us know. And sometimes we may show those comments live on the screen. So remember, it's live, no takebacks. And as soon as Mr. Lowrie gets back, we'll kind of kick this thing off. Josh, what all are we going to talk about tonight? I mean, what have you and Duke got in store?
We're going to be going over basically just what we're seeing going on up and down the flyway and the phone calls that we've been receiving, but mainly the duck numbers here in the state of Louisiana. And that's the critical point tonight.
Should be interesting. Full of numbers and math and all sorts of things. And I heard that y'all might even have some like airplane audio or airplane footage. This could be interesting. All right, Mr. Lowrie, I will turn it over to you and Josh. I've done all the kind of intro, and hopefully your lagginess will catch back up and take it away.
boy, it's not looking good for the home team because I am still hearing all kinds of static and sparks and all that good stuff. So I don't know. How do y'all copy me as we speak?
Sound pretty good.
Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll roll with it, and we'll try to work through the lag between comments and stuff. So anyway, so Josh, waterfowl hunting in Louisiana so far, social media wise, to me, it appears or seems to be people in Louisiana having a little bit of a good time. They're shooting a few birds. What do you think?
Well, it's just like we were talking, which yeah, there's been pockets of gray ducks, been a few pins killed, but for the most part, if you look, especially in our area of Southwest, I mean, just looking at Hackberry Rod and Gun, speaking of other guide services, I mean, if you look at all their pictures, you're seeing nothing but blue wings and green wings. And it's the same thing that we said prior to this season, that Louisiana's duck season, their big duck season, has basically turned into a bona fide teal season. But yet they wonder why the teal numbers are drastically coming down. Well, whenever you have an entire state that is full of duck killers and they're steadily killing limits of teal, well, what's going to happen? Recently, I think that Duke, we saw a article from, I think it was Delta, and they were talking about harvest did matter. and they were talking about it with the whooping crane, or I'm sorry, the sandhill cranes in Wisconsin, wanting to let those hunters start killing more. And they said whenever they back those harvests down, they put it to where the numbers built up, and well, it's all great. We need to let them start killing some more now. Well, if it plays a role with sandhill cranes, why does it not play a role with anything else? It's just it blows my mind that they talk about it on one thing, but whenever you go to talking about ducks, it's no, harvest does not play a role.
Yeah, that's right, and we keep hearing this that harvest has no impact, it's irrelevant or whatever you. But seems like there is contradictions abound, and you know, look, my observations I shared out to several pages here. Um, my observations are, and for those of you folks that may be catching this in Illinois or Missouri or some of these other states or what have you, we're going to talk quite a bit about Louisiana stuff tonight. And I know y'all get tired of hearing about Louisiana, but the content of what we're going to talk about, what we're going to share, is pertinent to what you guys are seeing and what you guys are experiencing as well too, because we're going to also cover a bunch of numbers and statistics regarding y'all's region of the world. But as a general rule, going back to observations of what's being killed and what's not being killed. I mean, just looking at the posts on social media of what folks are shooting or not shooting. Basically, our opening duck season down here was the opening of teal season. That was the way I saw it, because every lanyard of birds that I saw was the majority were teal. A few gadwalls mixed in, the rest were woodies. Rarely did I see a mallard. Rarely did I see a pintail. I don't think I even saw a squealer on anybody's lanyard and any social media posts I saw.
There's been quite a few squealers killed down here, but it's specific areas that has large concentrations of them.
Right, right, right. So, hey, jumping ahead, I was just kind of scrolling around a little bit, and this unharvested flooded ag, especially the corn. Hell, some of your friends, Josh. I mean, do you really understand just how good flooded corn is?
I think I know what you're talking about, but how good is it?
Well, I mean, it is so good with some of your friends, and Rex. I don't know if you got it queued up. They don't even have to take guns to the blind with them. They don't even have to take guns.
Yeah, let me
And
get
y'all,
this queued up. Here we go. This is the one you're talking about, right?
yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Man. Okay, nobody's gonna believe it. Go get your friends. Should we just cut his flight feathers and put him out as a live? That was awesome. All right, everyone have a gun.
Y'all act like duck hunting so hard. It's really not that difficult.
Okay, nobody's gonna believe it. Go get your
Well,
friends. Should we just cut his?
they just show up for their blind, and apparently they got them already in the blind. They don't even need shotguns. And after they let this mallard go, then they start divvying out the shotguns. I mean,
And dude, I hate to tell you, but I don't think that I wanted to be friends with them, but I honestly do not think that they want to be friends with me, man, because they lit into me on their social media page. Like I honestly, I hurt their feelings somehow. I think I had one of the co-owners or something come on there saying that I was saying a lie. I'm like, dude, I don't even know who you are. What are you even talking about?
well, I saw some of that dialogue back and forth. I mean, and what those guys were putting out there was not historically correct. They were inaccurate in what the statements that they were making. I mean, and it's not like it's even questionable because it's in black and white. It's you can't just make that up what they were talking about, and you just simply pointed it out, and they got all got their panties in a wad over it, and took their football and went home. Join the Hate Josh Club. So,
yeah. Where did Josh hurt you club?
Well, I should know better on these notes here. Since how I built them, I should know a little better as to what the next one was. Okay, that was it. I'm sorry. All right, so I want to address something, and oftentimes on these social media debates, I mean, hey Rex, I mean, so you're not a big waterfowl guy. Drag you in this here. So, what are some of the things that they say people from the South? I mean, obviously on the corn and all that crap or whatever, but what's one of the other things that they say we accuse them of doing up there to shortstop waterfowl?
The hot tubs up there, the heated ponds.
Yeah, they're doing all the hot tubs and the heated ponds. I mean, that's what they say. Although I've never seen any legitimate Southern person make that argument or contend that. I haven't seen that. There may be some out there, but I've never seen that before. But what I would say is that people in the South do know that people up there, engage in activities to keep the water open. And do they do it to an extreme, utilizing mechanical stuff and all that? Yeah, absolutely. So for the people that may be out there, in debates with these guys, and they try to throw at you, one of those arguments, oh, here he goes with the heated pond thing, that's a red herring. That's to try to intimidate you or minimize you in your debate. That's what they're doing. I mean, and truthfully, it's a really weak argument, because the fact of the matter is they do things to keep the water open. And look, don't take my word for it. I mean, let's play this next cut and show y'all for yourselves. This was on the Missouri, I think the Missouri Duck Hunters page.
All right. So, yeah, you talking about the survey, or you talking about the Arkansas Game Wardens post? Because that's the link.
Should be right where your cursor is.
Okay. Let me double check. I don't think that's the correct link, because that goes to the corn.
Yeah, you're right. That's not. Stand by. Inbounds.
Yes. We're an amateur show, folks. We have to live up to our amateur status.
The biggest thing is whenever people, they did say heated ponds back in the day. That was the thing to say, is heated ponds, because who's going to say, well, y'all are mechanically pumping 70-degree water onto frozen water. Guess what? The short term for that is heating the pond. You're putting warm water onto frozen water. So, Rex, wouldn't you say that a short term for that is heating the pond?
Yeah, and I got to say, so my question has always been, because I hadn't ever really investigated it very much, what are they using to heat all that water?
Well, they're pumping. They all have pumps set up, so a lot of times they're steadily flowing this water, so it's moving.
Right.
And then some of them have wells, so your water from in the ground, that's coming out 70 degrees.
Right. Well, it'll be much warmer than the surface at that point. So
yes. Yeah. And then they also have what they call ice eaters. And it's doing basically the same thing, but they don't move near as much water.
Yeah, I kind of had it imagined from the bass fishing world, like a lot of there's several lakes in East Texas, but there's several of them all over the place that are heated lakes because they're power plant lakes. And literally in the middle of the winter time, those lakes are still 60 plus degrees in the middle of the winter because they're, coming off the heat from the electric generation. So, Duke,
Yeah.
is
All
that
right, Rex.
you got the link?
Yeah, that drop down. That
All
one
right.
right there.
Okay. Give me just a second here and we'll see if we can get this one going.
Yeah, and it's no different than what the ducks do. The ducks get out there, congregate, flapping their
Right.
wings,
Well,
swimming around, stirring up the water to keep it open. I mean, it's a natural thing. I mean, it
yeah.
stands to reason that humans are going to do it.
All right. So the next technical challenge, Duke, we're not batting 1,000 tonight. Is a private group of which I am not a member.
Roger that. Well, you know what? Stand by. Let's try the old
Share your screen.
share screen.
See if it'll work tonight. Okay, let's see here. Let me do screen share, Duke. There we go. I don't know if we'll have any audio or not. Hit your little mute button on your side, Duke. If you mouse over that video, if you want the audio to play, if you mouse over that deal, there's a mute button somewhere.
Anyway, you see it right there.
That's basically what he's talking about, Rex. It's just moving water. But honestly, like I guess that could be considered a thing because that's manipulation. The water was frozen. They're thawing it. That's not a normal thing. But the ducks themselves will keep the water open. I've seen it with my own two eyes in Kansas and Oklahoma. Like, if they have a good food source close to them, they'll keep water open. But the problem is these guys doing that exact same thing that has flooded corn along with it. That right there poses a big threat. And, and that's a huge problem.
Just to add my little bit of 2 cents, I don't really have so much a problem with that. But the flooded corn, when you can't use corn as bait, is where I got the whole issue with. I don't have any problem with that. If they want to heat the water or stir the water up to keep the ice from forming.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, that is a flooded cornfield. You can see it in the background.
Oh, yeah.
There's standing corn there. But this is just small time stuff here. This is just with a 2-inch sewage pump. That's all these guys are doing. Do this on a scale, a corporate scale, like what these bigger clubs would do, with a water well or what have you. And or a tractor relift pump. Think about that. When you're moving thousands and thousands, or 30,000 gallons a minute, they can do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the argument, I just wanted to make that point to y'all when these, jackwagons say that, they can't do any of that crap. That's absolutely BS. They can do it. And when they accuse you of trying to, heated ponds or whatever, that's just trying to they need a good swift, well, I'm not going to say what they need, but maybe one day. Anyway, let's keep moving.
Yeah, next on the list.
Share screen off. So the road we're going to go down tonight might end up being a little controversial. Some people, y'all hear the numbers, and I would say that wildlife and fisheries and different people tell you, they say, take some of this stuff with a grain of salt. But given the fact that people really hang their hat on the numbers, and look, I've said on this show numerous times when we're doing a show that I don't believe in any of the numbers. I don't put any salt in any of it. Y'all heard me say it. But so we went down this road, and Josh, I'll let you articulate. what prompted us to go down this road and to do this show about the subject matter we're fixing to talk about?
Okay, so whenever I first founded Flyway Federation, it was because of the simple fact that I knew something was off, and I found discrepancies between the coastal refuge and WMA numbers and Lowrie Reynolds numbers. And I started exposing that. Well, that caused a big controversy. Well, after Lowrie Reynolds got removed and sent to Rockefeller, Jason Olzak takes his spot. Well, for years, the numbers have been low, like as if they weren't being pumped for any reason. And it went down and down and down since Olzak's been in place. Well, then this year we get a November count, and it was huge. And I told you, I said, Duke, I don't see it. I said, I called you. I said, I'm talking to guys, and yeah, there's a few more ducks in these areas that hasn't had ducks in years, but it's still not these huge numbers. And I just don't see how there's almost 1.3 million in the state. I said, because I can remember years that was close to 1.3, 1.5 million for early count. And I remember the areas that had ducks. And I told you that. And you said, well, why would they pump that number up? And I said, well, there was a cool front that we normally always get. And I said, Mark, this was on a Sunday night. I said, mark my words, there's going to be a post this week sometime come out. Is going to be either DU, Delta, whoever. They're going to come out and they're going to be saying, oh, it's due to the cold weather why Louisiana has all these ducks. Sure enough, the very next day, who put out a post, dude? Interviewing Jason Olzak. DU,
Yep.
the very next freaking day. DU, all Louisiana's loaded with ducks. Interviewed Jason Olzak. It's all to do with the weather. No bullshit. It's not all to do with the weather. And everyone is seeing the same thing across the board. I'm getting the same reports from Venice to
wait a minute.
Main River.
Wait a minute. What was the weather? Was it sub-freezing? I mean, did we not have? What about all the snow cover? Did we have snow cover right then? I don't remember any of that. So wait a minute. Either they move on cold or they don't move on cold. And if they're moving on cold, then I'm guessing there's no waterfowl in Missouri and Illinois and Kansas and Iowa and Minnesota. I guess Tennessee. I guess there's no waterfowl up there now because they've had, like this past week, like a shitload of snow.
So me and you got to discuss it. I'm like, what can we do? So I contacted some people that I know, and I got the coastal refuge and WMA numbers, and I reviewed them, and they showed, okay, so on Jason Olzak's survey, he said that a large number of the birds that he recorded was on Rockefeller. Well, Rockefeller, according to their survey, from 4 or 5 days prior to Olzak flying, Rockefeller records 80,000, I think. But they recorded 98,000. I can't read it, but I think it's 98,000 across all of the coastal refuges and WMAs. Now, what's so critical about this, the way that Yancey and others designed doing the Transect lines fly over the critical historical refuges in WMAs, the conservation areas. Sabine Wildlife Refuge, Lacassine, White Lake, Rockefeller, Cameron Prairie, Marshall, like all these refuges, these are all the Transect lines that Jason is flying. He's flying a little bit of private land on the other sides of it. That's all that he's adding to it. But he's flying the same exact ones. So the refuge teams and the WMA teams, their biologists come up with 98,000, 4 or 5 days prior to Olzak flying. Now, I know he is
98,000 total on all of those refuges and wildlife management areas.
Yes, and that's with their equation. They do an equation a lot like Olzak does, but their equation is smaller. They fly a shorter transect line, but they do the same expansion from the plane. I think it's 250 yards out from the plane on right side, left side. So whenever they're flying this, they have a biologist in the right seat and the left seat, and they're recording the whole time, and they're saying what they're seeing. Go ahead, dude.
I was. Are you sure that's right on the 98,000 from the refuge managers and the wildlife management area people? Are you sure that's right?
Yes.
You talking about the 98,220 at the bottom of this chart, the wild
Yeah,
waterfowl
because
count?
Now that's not including Sabine. Let's see, Sabine, Cameron Prairie, and Lacassine, because they're federal. So normally they would be added to this, but the feds were off because of the government shutdown. They went to work. They went back to work this exact week, so they didn't do a flight.
yeah, but the point that I'm making, I got to push back on you. This 98,000, I'm pretty sure, is not from the refuge managers or the WMA managers, but this is actually from the transects. These are the numbers from the transects being flown.
Yes,
If I'm
it all that the refuge managers and them do is turn it in for this survey. Okay, so it's the same two biologists. It states their name at the top of this. I think it's Casey and something. I can't read it. It's so blurry on my screen.
It says the pilot was Brian Dorsa and the observers were Casey Rome and Ali Borshoe. Hope I'm saying that right.
So they flew the transect lines on each one of these refuges in WMAs, and then they did put their stuff into the equation that they have for those specific transects, and they came up with the numbers, turned it in to their bosses, and that's how they come up with this coastal WMA and refuge survey.
Okay, so these numbers are inclusive of what the numbers that the on the ground people gave the people flying the transects, is what you're saying.
No, there is no on the ground people in these surveys. This is all done with plane here in Louisiana.
Right. And the reason I'm correcting that was because earlier at the beginning of your statement, whenever you were saying this, you were saying that these were the numbers that the were collected from the refuges and the WMAs, and I wanted to make sure that that was not what these numbers actually are. These numbers were from the transects. These were not from the people on the ground. And there's a reason I'm making that distinction, because in other states, and we're going to show these like in Missouri and maybe even in Illinois, the on the ground estimates and numbers will, as a comparison, is pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, which we'll get to that, but this is what I want to make clear is these numbers right here are totally separate transects and separate numbers from Olzak. He flew his transects, which flies over these exact areas, but they're longer transects and they include private land as well. So what we found, we saw this and I'm like, dude, 98,000 in on all these historic sanctuaries basically. I mean, Rockefeller, you can't even get near it during hunting season. I mean, that's pretty insane to see the difference between 98,000 and 1.3 million. Now, after speaking with a couple of biologists, they stated that the way that it was done historically, the transect lines, the equation would have worked because the ducks would have been more spread out. But now the ducks are very spotty in specific areas. So therefore, you're utilizing a width and a length into an equation saying, well, I counted 2 ducks here, so there's going to be 2 ducks for every this. And it's no longer that way. So if you want to get a more accurate representation of how many ducks is in Louisiana, you can look at this survey right here, and it's going to get you way closer.
Okay. So the report came out of 1.3 million waterfowl in the state of Louisiana after the survey by Jason Olzak, the Louisiana waterfowl coordinator. And a lot of red flags started going up amongst a lot of people, not just us. I mean, yes, we wear our tinfoil hats proudly, but it wasn't just us. There's a lot of people that are scratching their heads. And if you look at social media and the people, killing their limits of teal and killing their limits of gadwall, you would think, man, we are in the ducks in Louisiana. But, I don't think that is an accurate reflection. So we kind of questioned these numbers, and we weren't the only ones. There's a lot of people that have kind of questioned the numbers. So Rex, if you want to go to that next cut I've got highlighted, we wanted to try to figure out ourselves what's real and what's not real. And if you want to try to figure out what's real and what's not real, you got to get all the information. One of the problems that we had was Josh, you went on to FlightAware and you looked at the flights of the transects, and there was a problem. What was the problem that you found on FlightAware?
So, first off, I went on FlightAware and I wanted to see him fly the Southwest survey, because on FlightAware it'll show you how fast he's flying and what altitude he's flying, and you can actually see him fly the transects, and it'll show you for how long he is in that position. Well, I could see him fly the southeast transect perfectly. You see him dip down to 100 miles an hour, 125 foot, and he flies the line. Then he comes back up. You see him drop back down, flies the line. Then I can see him do the Little River Basin up at Catahoula. He flies that at 100 miles an hour. Then I can see him fly the Northwest. I only lose him for like 3 minutes in Northwest. Something happened and lost him on FlightAware. But whenever he got to Southwest, I saw him fly one transect line, which was like right there at the Lacassine Pools. And if y'all don't believe what I'm saying, y'all can go look on FlightAware and I can give y'all the tail number, whatever. But he did fly the Southwest Transects because I listened. We put in a public information request, and I listened because I wanted to make sure that he flew them.
All right.
And
All
what
right.
we got out
So
of
hang on.
that,
Hang on. I jumped us a little bit. I told Rex to pull up that graph of the
that's
transect
fine.
lines, down south. But I wanted to go back to the, because you jumped ahead on the survey on the public information request. So you on FlightAware, so everybody can keep track of this. You saw, just looking at the flight paths, there was something missing on FlightAware. So that means that the transponder was either cut off, or the transponder, something was going on with the transponder. There
It's
shouldn't
either
have been a.
that or the tower range, something to do with the tower range could go out. But what I found odd about that is I've never lost planes in that area before whenever I've looked in the past. And I mean, hell, you can follow helicopters flying offshore out of Calcasieu Parish. Okay, it has Chenault Air Force Base or Chenault Base, whatever, and they build jets and big Army planes, and they fly a lot in that area. And for the transponder to just go out and come back on, go out, come back on, I thought it was weird. So I wanted to make sure that he flew it, not saying that he didn't fly it. I wanted to make sure they flew it. So we did a public information request, and they answered to it and sent us all the information that we wanted.
Yeah, so we shot that public information request off on November the 17th, 7:32 a.m., and we asked for crew member names, titles, of the statewide waterfowl survey that was conducted on November 10th through the 13th. Flight plans and the tail number for the aircraft used, fuel expense receipts for the survey work. We wanted all of the crew audio recordings, and we wanted all of the emails from the surveyors prior to and after the survey work, pertaining to this survey work, to include those emails that were with persons who were not on the flights. And we got a prompt response to Wildlife and Fisheries credit, and Rex, I think you could attest to this. I don't know that I've ever seen a government agency respond back without giving you some kind of hassle. And to this response, there wasn't necessarily a hassle. On Monday, November the 24th, they responded back, acknowledging our request on the 17th, and a Dropbox link with all of the information that we requested. Now, to tell everybody we haven't went through all of the emails yet. I mean, there's a pretty good amount of information, and we haven't processed the fuel receipts and done any math on any of that. The main thing we focused on was the audio recordings of the crew and their counting of waterfowl. That's the only thing we've processed to this point. And so that brings us to give everybody a little bit of a taste of it. Josh, you want to jump off into the right plane and the right side plane, left side plane audio recordings and let people hear a taste of it?
Yeah, so guys, I listened. I spent, I think, 8 hours yesterday, and I sat there, left side plane, and I hit pause every time he counted duck, ever how many ducks it was, what species. I wrote it down. And so far, I'm sorry to the people past around Morgan City area. I hadn't gotten over there yet, but I've got left side plane, right side plane, and I've combined all of it, and I just put total ducks. And now within the numbers that I've put, that includes black bellies. I want to point this out because there is a large number of black bellies in this count. and I'll have to go back through but I can roughly tell you it's around 6,500 to 7,000 blackbellies in this total count. But go ahead and play the audio so that they can kind of hear what I had to listen to and how this survey goes.
Sure. All right, here we go.
Today is Monday, November 10th. We're beginning the Coastal Transect Waterfowl Survey. Over by the Texas line, line number 1 at the north end. Time is 9:17. This first habitat is brackish marsh. Bottle duck 2. However, intermediate marsh. Gadwall 750, pintails 500, green wings 150, blue wing 32. However, brackish marsh. Make that saline. Okay, that ends Transect line number 1 at the south end. Time is.
So let me ask
Stop
a
there,
question.
Rick.
Yeah, let me ask
That
a
right
question.
there was Transect 1.
How are they estimating the number of ducks they're seeing?
So they have a chart that they go by, and I mean all of them are taught by basically the same people on how to do this survey. They know how far to go from the plane, and they can estimate, let's say a big group of ducks is within that. They know if it's covering up so much of this area on this chart is X, if it's a bunch of ducks. Now, if it's just 10 ducks, they can quickly look out the window and estimate that's 10 ducks.
Right.
But for larger groups, that's how they do it.
Okay.
I just want to point this out. How long was just that first little bit?
11 minutes, a little over 11 minutes, 11 and a half minutes.
No, how long was it playing? Just what we played.
48 seconds.
Okay, guys, that was left side of the plane. Okay, so that was 10 miles of flight over the historic Sabine Wildlife Refuge, 10 miles. And he only recorded that small amount of ducks. He hit his button, 5 times, Duke? 5 times he hit his button counting ducks in 10 miles, and the recording was 48 seconds. And the right side of the plane ain't much longer. Play the right side so they can hear it.
Okay. Let's see. I think I had the left side at that point, but hold on. Let's see. This may be
Today
the
is
same.
Monday,
That's
November
the left
10th.
side.
Yeah, hold on. Let me just get the other one.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Test 1. About to begin the November Coastal Waterfowl Survey. It is November 10th, 2025. In a minute we'll be on line 1. Beginning line 1, heading south. Time is 9:18. First habitat will be brackish. Gadwall 4. Gadwall 2. Green wings 15. Habitat intermediate. Model ducks 2, model ducks 4. Gadwall 350, green wings 7. Model duck 2, mallard 1. Green wings 250, Gadwall 40, spoonbills 10, pooldew 30. End of line 1, time is 9:23. Begin line 2, heading north, time is.
So how many seconds was that?
52.
Okay, so 52 seconds, and he hit his button maybe 7 times, and that's in 10 miles of Sabine Wildlife Refuge. I can't stress to y'all guys enough. Like, I grew up hunting that place, and driving through there whenever I was younger, it would just be clouds coming up off the water. Can you imagine flying a plane that low at what the ducks are going to be doing? So I just wanted to point that out. But you can bring up the map now and
Go to the Google Map estimate distance, Rex.
All right.
I pulled out Google Maps and I drew just a general line across where that transect line, just so folks can understand where they flew and the distance that they flew to count the number of birds that they counted. And it's like that's rough, but like Josh was saying, 10 miles, but that's the line, that's the area that they've flown. And I think, like Josh was saying, that they fly the same transect line that historically have always been flown. Um, so
And once they
anyway,
get to 2, it ain't much better, and 2 ain't very far over from it. But what I found interesting was after I combined all the numbers, and I got 1 through 13 completed so far. And this is listening to both sides, adding up their numbers, and just giving a total, because, Duke, that's how Missouri does it, but they're actually just walking around. I mean, can you imagine that? At how many more ducks you can see from 100 foot up in the air? Because that's the whole point of going up in a climbing stand, is so that you can see further. Missouri's got guys walking around these ponds counting ducks. They got more ducks on one conservation area than Olzak and them counted halfway across the freaking marsh, and that's Rockefeller and everything. So bring up the map that I got the counts on, Rex.
All right. Let's see here. Let's see. The transects. Which one?
Yeah.
All right.
The one with all my numbers on it. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
So, Duke, you want to read those off? I can't hardly read them. My screen's
yeah.
blurry.
So Transect 1 will be the far to your left of the screen. That will be the one that we showed you just a minute ago on Google Maps that we drawn out. That was about a 10-mile transect. You heard the call of the numbers on the audio, and that total came up to 2,121 ducks. 2,121. Then you see transect number 2, the second one. When they flew that one, that was a total of 803 ducks.
And that's about 28 miles.
Transect 3, 8 ducks. 4, 729. Transect 5, 139. Transect 6, 1,266. 7, 1,284. Transect 8, it was pretty good. That might be one of the longer ones. 3,748. Transect 9, 5,799. Transect 10, 6,917.
That's Rockefeller.
Right. That would be where you would expect to see the most ducks. Transect 11, 223. Transect 12, 642. Transect 13, 460 ducks. Now, all those transect right there combined is collectively, I would contend, the most heavily duck populated habitat in the state of Louisiana. Would you not agree?
100%. That and Catahoula Lake.
That and Catahoula Lake. But Catahoula Lake is like an island in comparison to this. I mean, it would just be a drop in the bucket compared to this. But
100%.
if you're gonna see 1.3 million birds, I would contend at least 1 million of those are going to be within these lines. Would you agree?
Historically, Rockefeller alone held, and this was even in later years, whenever we've had losses, Rockefeller held anywhere between 350 to 500,000. White Lake alone held large numbers. I mean, those two spots alone are huge. But I'd like to point out again, guys, those numbers, that 5,700 and something, 2,000 and something of that is blackbellies. Out of the 6,900 and something, almost 3,000 something of that is blackbellies. And the Transect line, more to the west of it, 1,500 of that is blackbellies. So, guys, these are low counts. And I understand it all goes into an equation. I'm just having a hard time grasping 21,000. How much did I say it was, dude?
24. I thought it was about 24,000, something like that.
Hang on. 24,129 ducks total counted in Southwest over here from Transect 1 to Transect 13 to the middle of the state. And there was 3 or 4 Transect lines, guys in Morgan City, Houma. I feel sorry for y'all because guess what, guys? They didn't record a duck on the flight pass over there at all. They recorded the habitat and 0 ducks. There was 3 or 4 Transect lines, 0 ducks were counted. So with that being said, 24,129 ducks or whatever in Southwest Louisiana. How do we go from that into an equation to having 1.3 million? That's what I'm wondering, dude. Because
I'm wondering as well, because you're talking about a landscape here that is huge. Some of the most prime real estate in I would argue in the country for waterfowl, and you're talking about they only visually saw this quantity of waterfowl. Hell, I seen more ducks out of the door of a pickup truck last weekend on one refuge in Illinois, than they seen in this airplane flying this whole damn thing at 150 feet.
That's my whole point. And Duke, you want to pull up the conservation area numbers for Missouri? So, guys, what y'all got to realize is they are flying this at low altitudes, at a low speed. They have a wide view to see all these ducks to count. These numbers right here is from biologists at these conservation areas in Missouri. And they stated in here, too, that the federal numbers on the federal refuge weren't going to be up because of the government shutdown. But their latest numbers, I think it was from the 17th of November. And you're talking about, look at the gadwall and the mallard numbers, dude. Read some of those off. This is a guy walking around some ponds and counting. And he don't put it into an equation. What he counts, what he estimates goes on their site.
November the 11th, Bob Brown Conservation Area, 34,999 waterfowl. Of those, 5,780 gadwalls, 7,869 mallards, mixed dabblers, 850, shovelers, 2,765, teal, 1,577, widgeon, 3,200, and get this one, pintails, 12,671. I thought all the pintails had already come down to us. Interesting. Duck Creek Conservation Area on the 17th, 23,864. They had just this one area, Duck Creek, has as many as all of Southwest Louisiana. All of it. And the majority of it was, you guessed it, gadwalls. I mean, the big corn eaters, I get it. Eagles Bluff Conservation Area, 14,000. And they had a substantial number of mallards in that bunch. It was 7,500. The next highest number was pintails and gadwalls. And Fountain Grove on the 18th, 30,000. Mallards made up 15,500 and gadwalls made up 3,000. Pintails also 3,000. Teal 3,000. Four Rivers on the 17th, 44,102. And they just lumped theirs in mixed dabblers, 41,000 mixed dabblers, and mallards for 1,500, gadwalls 300, teal 1,200. Grand Pass, all right, Grand Pass, 72,000. Mallards made up 28,800, mixed dabblers 18,000, and teal 21,600. And just picking a few out here, you had Montrose Conservation Area up there, 12,100. Nottoway Valley Conservation Area, 17,600. Otter Slough, 28,000. Shell Osage, 44,091. Ted Shanks, 31,548. 10 Mile
So,
Pond, 900.
dude, so one thing we need to say right here is every one of these conservation areas has a large sanctuary. They also have flooded and harvested crop programs. But not only that, what everyone needs to realize is every one of these public areas and sanctuaries or whatever, guess what, guys? They're surrounded by all these big private commercial operations. That's where they focus at. They buy up the land around them, and their land gets just as big or bigger than these people. And so if the public land there that gets counted by guys on the ground to turn in is holding this many birds, what do you think that entire area is holding? And they are counting just like what you just heard. The guys in Louisiana that are just looking and counting ducks, if Louisiana would have put their numbers that they just looked and counted for Southwest Louisiana, we would have 24,128 ducks. They got conservation areas and refuges in Missouri that double and triple that number, where all these ducks are hanging out in this flooded corn and not leaving. So why is it that we keep allowing our state to pump these huge numbers out there whenever we know something's wrong? We need to stop this bull crap, fix the problem, and say, okay, let's get on the same page, on the same playing area as all these people, all right? Because they're going to continue counting like this. And whenever they count like this, it looks like they don't have crap. Unless you go look at this, because guess why? They only do their real survey like what we do 3 or 4 times a year. They only do that once a year, and that's to turn the numbers in for the Mississippi Flyway data book for the midwinter count.
Well, hey,
So
Josh,
that is why they come at it.
I don't mean to distract a little bit because I did appreciate where you were going with that and what you were articulating. Let me get I got my thing. But hey, well, as I was reading those numbers, one of them popped up on my screen. One of those things popped up in my head and seemed familiar because you and I ain't been doing a whole lot of hunting lately, but we have been working on ducks. And wait a minute, that's you and me. Didn't I read?
We did go
Didn't I read
view one of them areas.
I mean, because we got some fans that we've got fans that argue with us about unharvested ag makes no difference, and right now they're holding 23,864 waterfowl. I mean,
yeah, and they tried to say that place didn't have flooded unharvested crops. But the funny thing was, we went there just to see, but the funny thing was the flooded unharvested crops backs up to their daddy's private club, and all that flooded unharvested crops that backs up to their daddy's club is all sanctuary area that none of you public boys can hunt, that treats as a sanctuary area for this retired DU guy's private club over here. So I don't know, dude. I think it's funny that they all just will even lie to their own peers and be like, screw y'all.
Well, getting back on track, I couldn't resist. I knew that I had that one somewhere down in the pipe, but as you were articulating, so we got guys in planes flying, and they fly. I mean, a quarter to a half of the state of this whole state, and count a number of birds, and these places in one state, Missouri has, and I don't know what the acreage is on some of these things. It's not even a quarter of what the area that these guys in Louisiana have flown, and they're holding more birds than what they showed in these aerial surveys.
Duke,
I mean,
it's not even, Duke, it's not even a point, like 100% of what these guys flown. Whenever you look at the acreage on all of those conservation areas versus Southwest Louisiana, there's no comparison to habitat. And all them guys that say, oh, Louisiana lost their habitat, screw you. You don't know what you're talking about at all. Louisiana could lose half of its habitat, and we still would have 2 to 2.5 million more acres than you. So don't even come here with that.
That's right. And so for you Alabama, you Mississippi, and even you Arkansas folks and all of that, this is affecting you as well too. And I know that your counts, you're seeing similar, decreased numbers, and yeah, you can do social media polling, and the people, in some spots are killing some ducks, and is that the case across the whole state? No, it's not. There's a lot of people not having good days. But I would contend, I believe my eyes and what I'm seeing on some of these places up north. And Josh, as you know, try to get back on the notes here. As you know, I've spent some time here lately. I had to go see it for myself, right? So it's one thing to see it on social media. It's another thing for you to actually go see it yourself. And Rex, I want you to pull up Clarence Cannon. I had occasion to be up last week in Missouri and Southern Illinois, and took a little road trip to a refuge up there, and wanted to get an on-the-ground perspective myself of the lay of the land. And I had a wonderful host that showed me everything, and we'll share more of that to come down the road. But what I can tell you, everyone's perception of the flooded, unharvested ag and the corn issue is different than you might think. So this is Clarence Cannon. It's a refuge up there, and the video, I know, is a little grainy, and I'm sorry, but all that kind of open you see out there, you could literally walk across that field stepping on the back of mallards, one after the other after the other. Here in just a second, it'll get to where you can see birds getting up, trading around out there. After we got through driving around here, we talked to the refuge manager. The refuge manager informed us that about only 30% of the refuge was flooded. The reason being is their pump had been broken down, and with the government shutdown, they were unable to get repairs done. So they had only been able to flood this portion that they had. And we asked him, well, what kind of count do y'all have on waterfowl? And he's like, well, we haven't flown a survey up here. He said, but we're holding 30,000 right now, right at 30,000. And when I tell y'all this area was small, to me, and the 30%, I'm going to guesstimate was probably somewhere between 500 to 1,000 acres, is my guess. All that open area out there is just nothing but ducks.
That's the thing, dude, is these guys they're like, oh, we're not doing it that much. Well, whenever you stack up this 500 acre, that 1,000 acre, this 500 acre, that 400 acre, this 200 acre, whenever you do that and you're stacking in that many ducks into there, you are manipulating the migration 100%. And guess what, guys? This is a heads up to all you Missouri boys that thought it's not coming to an end. Just today, the phone call, because we need to make sure that on how those counts are completed. Well, guess what? They're looking at ending all your stuff there too. So, good luck.
Yeah, so 30,000 here, 30,000 there. I mean, it builds up, it compiles, and basically the bottom line is right here where all of these waterfowl are. There's not the first bit of planted corn, right in this zero, nada, none, nothing there. But here's the deal: everywhere around it, all flooded corn. As far as you could, as far as you can see from St. Louis all the way around is nothing but flooded corn. And here's the routine: at the end of shooting hours, all these birds get up out of the sanctuary, they fly to the cornholio's place, and the cornholios are packing their gear in, going back to their little 2-story mansion that they built set up on stilts. They sit back in their recliner, watching the football game, looking out across the top of the corn, drinking their bourbon, watching the ducks fall in, and say, yeah, it looks like we got us a lot of birds in here this evening. And then guess what? They'll get up in the morning and they'll go out there, and the birds get up and leave, and they stay right there on the refuge until it's time to do it again. So, the turning waterfowl nocturnal thing, this is who's doing it. This is who has done it with this practice of unharvested ag. This is what's done it. And Missouri is the state that you can thank for that. They've done this to waterfowl hunting. They've created this problem.
100%.
So we've shown you, and we're going to show you more. And you need to understand, I have a lot of video, and I spent a lot of time recording these cornfields and their camps. I even recorded, y'all. You heard the rumors about somebody spent $30,000 an acre for some cornfields up there for hunting ducks on. 30,000 acres. This thing is a business now. It's all about money. It ain't about the sport. It ain't about conservation. It ain't about what. It's about money. Clear as day. But I didn't get out of the truck. I didn't want to touch the dirt because it might cost me $1,000 to put my, lowly Louisiana roach stompers on that dirt. So I didn't touch it. But the point is we've got problems all the way around with management, counts, numbers. Habitat. I don't know where to start.
I tell you where to start. Amend the migratory bird treaty, restore it back, and put better verbiage in there that's clear, easy to understand. Start dumping all the money that we've been dumping into that bull crap in the middle of the flyway. Take that money and start dumping it into Canada and the Pothole Prairie region in Dakota, Northwest Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and you start dumping that all up there for the real true breeding grounds in real CRP, and you stop formers from draining wetlands and disking up and killing off all of our breeding birds and the eggs, and I promise you, ducks will go back normal. They will get back right, and we will have more ducks in the sky. And guess what, dude? They won't be nocturnal because they'll have to forage to find their food.
But here's the problem with that, and we'll talk about the big two, Delta waterfowl and Ducks Unlimited. So and I still consider them friends at Delta Waterfowl, and they probably sore as hell at me, and that's fine. I can deal with that, but I don't know that their focus is in the right place. And I agree with you 100%. The focus needs to be back on the prairie potholes. We've lost focus of the big enchilada, and it needs to be on the prairie potholes 100%. But
Delta
play
waterfowl
Rex,
needs to go back to killing varmints, and DU needs to go back to creating the duck factory. Those two
well,
things need to
Rex,
happen, and if they don't happen, oh well, get them out the way.
Rex, play the link I just sent you.
All right, let's see here.
Wildlife Refuge, which is about 50 miles north of Sacramento, California. This is one of 573 refuges across North America that provide crucial habitat for ducks and hunting opportunities for duck hunters. The reason I'm here today is to talk to you about a problem with our refuge system. Due to the loss of 711 staff and a maintenance backlog that eclipses $2.6 billion, our refuge system is just not functioning like it did in the past. So Delta's launching a campaign called Restoring Our Refuges, the goal of which is to work with our legislators and our managers to secure the funding to take care of the maintenance backlog, but also the long-term needs of the refuge system. So I'm asking you, North America's duck hunters, to join Delta in the Restoring Our Refuges campaign. I'm standing here at the...
Now, I can agree with him on the maintenance, the backlog of maintenance. I articulated that in Louisiana legislature about the backlog of maintenance on our
We've
habitat in
talked about it on
Louisiana.
this show.
Absolutely. But to my friend Jason, the problem I have with this, I mean, I don't know that California's having a lot of problems with their waterfowl. They're not freaking getting shortstop. They're doing pretty damn good over there. California? Sacramento?
Yeah, well,
that one
they
kind of
create their.
rubs at me a little bit.
I stay away from even talking about anything west of the Rockies. Like, they got their California waterfowl does amazing things. I'm surprised they're even allowing Delta waterfowl over there. Like, California waterfowl's got a handle on a lot of stuff, but you do have some places in Washington. I mean, hell, that senator that I spoke to years and years ago, he was out of Idaho, and he was trying to get it banned in their flyway and in the Pacific. But I leave all that alone. Like, I stay away from there, and I honestly think Delta waterfowl needs to as well. They need to stick to their roots, stay over here in these flyways that started them.
Well, there's something to be said for that. But the point I'm drawing from this is it seems to me, I mean, yeah, there's backlogs on refuges, but it seems to me that your focus and your priority ought to be the prairies. But that's not what was just said right there. Maybe that's what he's meaning. I don't know, but I didn't get that out of that. And to the other side of this equation, Ducks Unlimited. I mean, so I don't have a link to this or to share this, and maybe some of y'all can maybe what's that guy on the duck podcast that gets bent when we start talking about him? I don't remember his name
Zoolander.
anyway, but yeah, maybe that's him. Whatever. Uh, but I hear, yeah, oh yeah, his wife works for DU, and he got all bent because we exposed that he's got a conflict of interest because his wife works for DU, but he did never disclose that to anybody, as he was criticizing us and people who were criticizing waterfowl management because you ain't doing a damn thing about the legal baiting. But Ducks Unlimited allegedly is, all those monies that you were donating over the years for protecting habitat and all that, and they went and bought all these habitats. Allegedly, they're selling all those lands that they purchased with your donation dollars and then the matching NACA dollars back to the farmers, and it's getting bulldozed over for pennies on the dollar. I don't have a
Well,
link to that. If anybody has that, I'd love for you to send me the links to that, because I really want to
well,
dig into that and vet that. Because if that's true, to me, that is the ultimate betrayal of everybody who has supported waterfowl management forever.
dude, I had heard that from a couple of friends of mine that has former friends and stuff in Canada, and they were like, "Yeah, DU contacted us and was offering to sell the land back to us," and we were like, "What?" And they were selling it back to them at basically 50 cents on the dollar. So they bought this land for this high price to put it into conservation land, and then they spend this money. Now this is in Canada. Now this isn't North Dakota or whatever. I know that they supposedly have done this there, but I know this to be true in Canada because I found the program. It's called the Revolving Land Conservation Program in Canada. And what they do is they buy land from a farmer at top dollar, whatever. They put it into a conservation program. They dump government funding from Canada and various sources, whatever. And they build this land up, put it into an easement. They hold on to it for so many years. And then they offer it right back to the farmer at a fraction of a cent or whatever. It's selling this land back after they've spent all this money on it and tell him, you don't farm it, and drive away. And what do you think that the farmer's going to do? I mean, Canada is very vast. They've already caught a few farmers already farming the land, but we already have been told that they aren't up there managing any of their stuff that they did before. So what would lead you to believe that they're up there managing these permanent conservation easements? Do you think that the farmers are farming it? Yes. If he owns acreage, he's going to farm it. End of story. He would rather pay the fine. But go look it up, guys. Revolving Land Conservation Program in Canada.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this information. And as you can see, not all duck surveys are the same. Some are productive. Some are productive without actually seeing the ducks. And while I'm sure that we're going to have more on this when, in a future show, as we crunch these numbers, we wanted to give you all a piece of what we were working on with, the information we got from the public information requests. But bottom line, you've seen the most prime habitat in Louisiana, and the compiled numbers by way of two biologists in a plane flying at 150 feet, 100 miles an hour over, I would argue, the majority of waterfowl habitat in Louisiana, and counted a total of 24,000 something waterfowl. And
Yeah.
yet you see on refuges individual waterfowl management areas and refuges in Missouri with all the flooded ag with more waterfowl than 2 trained biologists in an airplane flying for multiple days over hundreds of miles counted in Louisiana. But hey, if you wanna, you killed you a bag, good, I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you got a good hunt, but just because you had a good hunt does not mean that everything is rosy out here in duck hunting land.
Yeah.
Is that a pretty good summation?
Yes, very much so. And I like that. I'm going to start using that.
Well, Rex, close us out. That's all I have, and we're going to keep digging, and we're going to keep pouring a little bit on this. We find it hard to believe that a number could dwarf from 100,000 to 1.3 million. Don't know how that math is calculated, but we're going to work to figure that out. Some kind of formula that I ain't never heard of, but okay.
New duck math. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching, and we did have some comments. So, Duke, you and Josh, I'll encourage you to go check out some of the comments, and maybe over the next couple of days, as people continue to comment, maybe address some of those. Want to remind everybody that Facebook does delete live videos after 30 days. So go over to YouTube, look up the Outdoor News on YouTube, like and subscribe and follow us over there, because all the shows are up there. I've got some interesting fishing content coming up. It's a little cold outside, but I've got some numbers in fishing and participation in bass fishing that are very interesting. So that'll be coming up before long. But anyway, just want to thank everybody again. And Duke and Mr. Josh, we will put together another show just as soon as y'all are ready.
All righty, guys. Thank y'all.